Hello everyone. Today's a great day because Ukraine just exposed one of Russia's biggest military scams. Let's go. Hello, my name is Author. This is a channel with daily news from Ukraine. And today is another very exciting day because we have so many updates for you. That's right. What did they do? So a few days ago, it was announced that Russia supposedly destroyed 27 HIMARS systems in Ukraine. Here are their announcements. They said that they destroyed 27 out of 200 HIMARS systems that were provided by the United States. And guess what? There are more than 500 strikes. Now take a look at this map. You see, they released this statement on July saying that they've destroyed those 27 systems. Ukraine released this statement on August, 1 month later. If you think about it, this is some next-level stupidity. And it goes like this. Quote, Russia has lost its ability to conduct an information war. So Russians used to say that there is a very small chance that Ukraine can cross the river and open a new front line. But this seems to be a very common Russian sentiment. We've heard it so many times before. Oh, they can't cross the river. And they are moving them to the east, probably to reinforce their positions near Kherson. It is occupied by Russians since 1992, and ever since they have been trying to take it. Well, yesterday, there was another attempt. This time they tried to sneak into Tiraspol. And the funny thing is that Tiraspol is the capital of Transnistria. And every single strike reminds Russians that they are at war. And as you can see, it grows every single week. And please remember to support us if you haven't yet. And I'll be back tomorrow. And if you think about it, this is exactly the goal of our allies providing us with this modern weaponry, right? Because the goal is not to send us band-aids. The goal is to win the war. And to win the war, you need to strike the enemy. And the enemy is in Moscow. That's why we need attacks missiles to strike deep inside Russia. And once we get them, Russians will face even more problems. So these guys were trying to basically perform a coup d'etat. And yet again, they failed. But unlike in the past, Ukrainians were prepared and stopped them. 40 Russian saboteurs were sent to this area to capture several strategic locations. But once again, this attempt was thwarted. This is likely a response to Ukrainians being spotted in Pichinivka. And overall, the situation in Kherson Oblast remains very dynamic. We can expect some big movements in the nearest future. Oh, they can't do anything. Don't worry. Well, guess what? Ukrainian soldiers were spotted in Pichinivka. And yes, this is only 4 kilometers away from the Russian-occupied territory. And this was the aftermath. And as you can see, it's just a matter of time until these guys are completely pushed out from the oblast. And it's actually very easy to predict it because if we take a look at the control map, we can see that Ukraine is literally breathing down on Tokmak. And we all know how important this city is for Russians. If Ukraine takes it, then it will be very hard for Russians to sustain their logistics and keep fighting. And Ukrainians seem to be prepared to stay there for a long time. Here's a photo of them unloading supplies. And according to the governor of the region, everything was fine. But according to locals, it was anything but fine. And this is a consequence of Ukrainians striking Moscow every single night. You see, when Russians hear a siren, they immediately run to bomb shelters because they assume that it's a Ukrainian missile coming their way. And this is such a trauma for them because it's been months since they wake up every single night and jump into their bomb shelters. And it's also very dangerous because people suffer from heart attacks and panic attacks. And this is a real problem in Russia. By the way, they also brought some tractors with them. Farmers are coming, boys. It is degraded to the point of conducting only military ones. End quote. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, how hard is it to release a statement right away after performing such a huge success? But no, they waited 1 month. I mean, why? Why would they wait? The answer is simple. They were lying. Do you see any place where it says that these 27 HIMARS systems were destroyed? Remember this one, where they claimed that they destroyed 4 HIMARS systems with a Kinzhal missile? Yes, I remember. Everyone laughed at it back then, because a Kinzhal missile costs $10 million. While HIMARS costs $8 million, meaning that Russia spent $10 million to destroy $8 million. Yeah, that makes sense. How could anyone believe that? Because I don't. In fact, I don't see anything that resembles some sort of a military success. And if this is a success, I really wonder what failure looks like for the Russian army. And now this seems pretty insane because HIMARS is a very expensive weapon system. It costs $8 million per one. Now, we can't confirm or deny this because once again, this is a secret military operation, and everything that we see is a result of a successful information war. While Russians cannot even perform a proper disinformation campaign, unfortunately. But one thing is for sure, this is a very bad news for Russians. Why? Because if Ukraine opens a new front line, Russians will have to fight on two sides. We all know how good they are at fighting on two fronts at the same time. Spoiler alert, not that good. And also, they are provided by the US, so the US wouldn't give that much to Ukraine if it wasn't needed, right? So right away, let's raise some concerns about the legitimacy of these claims. By the way, if you'd like to receive them even faster, then make sure to follow us on social media, because that's the fastest way to get the most important updates. But first things first, Ukraine just exposed Russia's military scam. So, how does destroying 27 HIMARS systems out of 200 provided to Ukraine sound? Well, if you ask me, this sounds like a typical Russian Photoshop. You see, since the beginning of the war, Russians have been claiming that they destroy more equipment than Ukraine has. For example, they claim to destroy 9,000 pieces of equipment, but Ukraine only has 2,000, and yet somehow they managed to destroy 9,000. Same deal here. Also, these guys never cease to amaze me with their stupidity. If they would just stop for a second and think, if this is such a huge success, why don't we show the world the aftermath? Why don't we show the footage? Why don't we show where these 27 HIMARS systems were hit? But no, because that's impossible. It's just a Photoshop, just like all their other claims. And to prove it, Ukraine released this map. And it shows every single strike that Ukraine performed with HIMARS since the moment they received it. Also, something else worth noting, Russia never ceased to amaze me with their stupidity. And just for fun, let's compare this statement with another Russian Photoshop. And now I will read you the best comment under this post from a certain Telegram channel. And yeah, speaking of beautiful, let's move to some other beautiful places. Like for example, Kherson Oblast. Also, a lot of reports say that Ukraine built a pontoon bridge and started delivering troops and supplies across the river. Also, some sources report that Russians are withdrawing their forces from the southern part of Kherson Oblast, specifically from the city of Hola Kristanivka. Also, something happened in Transnistria. As you may already know, Transnistria is this piece of land that is separated from mainland Ukraine. And just yesterday we received some footage from Zaporizhia Oblast, and you can see Ukrainians performing a successful attack. And finally, let's talk about the escalation. So yesterday, explosions were reported in Rostov Oblast. Russians don't want to admit it, but Ukraine has a very strong psychological advantage over them. By the way, according to the newest data, 31% of the country's territory is already liberated. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. I'm grateful to be with you here every single day and share the most important updates.